Good evening, folks. It is Thursday night. It is 8 p.m. It is time for your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast, and it is Elimination Chamber weekend, so lots of things happening. And heck, when we went off the air last week, we had breaking news drop on us literally minutes after we shut down because word came out that The Rock was going to show up at SmackDown, but we didn't even know last week that apparently he was going to show up and be the Soul Taker. So we are going to get into that because The Rock is looking to snatch souls. What does that mean? It's going to happen at Elimination Chamber. So we'll get into all that because there was a lot going on this weekend in Toronto. Plus, we got NXT TNA crossover heating up. And what would be the deal if old Vince McMahon got back into wrestling in 2025? Oh, no. Rumors are floating around. We're going to talk about that and so much more, folks. Get ready. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast starts right now.
Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt. All I really want is that Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really need that Big Gold Belt.
Thank you for being with us here tonight, everyone. We are glad to see you and glad to share some time with you as we talk some pro wrestling tonight here with Big Gold Belt Media and the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We got a big weekend ahead of us. As I was saying, we got Elimination Chamber that we'll be talking extensively about tonight. We got The Rock crashing SmackDown, which plays into Elimination Chamber, and so much more. So a big action-packed hour ahead. I got two of the guys here with me tonight. I am Will. In the center of your screen, to my left from the Lone Star State is Damian G, and to my right is the Giant Crab Jamal. Gentlemen, how are things going with y'all this week?
Actually, not bad. You know, the weather's good. The cherry blossoms, we know where they're going to peak. It's a good time. The one thing that I'm eagerly waiting for, I need to know the date of the Royal Rumble next year. I'm be damned if I don't go.
Oh, so international WWE. Travel.
Come on, WWE. You know, I need to know when and where.
I think we'll know that sooner rather than later. It's got to be coming soon that they drop that date. How they've told us where it's going to be. So it's got to be coming soon. I figure as far as when that's going to be. Damian, how you doing down there in Texas?
You know, all things considered, I'm good. I just can't wait for April so I can go to Mania weekend and see the sights, as it were.
There you go. There you go. Well, folks, it's a season 5, episode 4 for us here at the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. So let's get to it. As I said at the cold open, right after we went off the air last week, it killed me. We shut everything down and we were in our group chat, and suddenly I looked at the damn news feed and it's breaking news. The Rock is showing up at SmackDown tomorrow night. And everyone was like, what the heck's going on here? They must be worried about the drop in ratings in a case of emergency. Break glass and pull Dwayne out. So, and people were thinking, oh, they're in New Orleans. They got to be talking about WrestleMania. The rumors there next year. And WrestleMania in New Orleans did end up being part of the deal. That was the first tease that The Rock did say that WrestleMania will return to New Orleans next year. So that was definitely part of things. But then things got interesting. Things got a little different. We had Cody show up. We had Cody called out. And I guess the last time we saw The Rock and Cody was on the Netflix premiere, and you know they discussed how they were toasting with the Terramana, with the Rock's tequila. Their moms are friends now, and everything seemed cool and smoothed over at the Netflix premiere. All of not even 2 months ago we're talking, very recently, and then things took a turn, and Rock got kind of weird. I don't know how it was just strange, and he starts talking about Cody, you're here. But The Rock's up here. And he was just talking about how he's on the board of TKO and he can make anything happen. And everyone's I'm thinking kind of like, okay, what are they trying to set? Are we going to do a match? I thought the matches were off and that wasn't going to be happening no more. But they start talking about I'm here and you're there. And I need to see something more from you. And I want to bring you up to the next level. I want to give you millions of Instagram followers. Dwayne's talking about. Because, that's what we're worried about pro wrestling is the Instagram followers. But then he caps it all off with, I need you to be my champion. I need you to be the best you can be. I need your soul is how he ends it. And Cody gives it like this, like, what the hell are you talking about, man? Now, And like he leaves it there. And he's like, and I want to know an Elimination Chamber. If you're with me or against me. If you're gonna give me your soul. So Damian, I'm gonna throw it to you first. The Rock wants Cody Rhodes' soul. What the hell's going on here?
First off, I felt like I needed an adult while watching that because the facial caressing and touching, I need an adult. That's number one. Number two, Dwayne needs to stop going off the top of the head with these promos because going around in circles for a good 20 minutes was mind-boggling.
It was long.
But as far as what does he want? Well, Shang Tsung over here is asking for souls, and I played enough Mortal Kombat to know that this smells like a trap. And if we're going to talk purely in wrestling gimmicks, I know I've seen the rumors of this being Austin McMahon circa 19 WrestleMania, I believe 18 part 2, where since Rock is the boss, or AKA the final boss, trying to bring Codelander out and about because people have said that Cody's reign has been middling up to this point based on a couple of factors. He's had Kevin Owens, which was a great feud. I'm speaking strictly from wrestling. Maybe it's time for a change. For me, it's confusing. And I think I'm kind of tired of confusion. I think Cody's reaction summed up the entire IWC, including the people that argue every single day of just, what are you doing, man? But all in all, if this is a setup for Austin McMahon 2, please let this not be it, because there's a lot of other things you could be doing with Cody and The Rock. Like you said, Will, making a match, that'd be great.
Right.
Potentially doing something with Bloodline 3.0, if that ever came to fruition, or just, like you said, to bring up more interest in the 3 hours of SmackDown, because we could talk about that too. 3 hours of SmackDown is not going anywhere at all. But as far as the gimmick and the promo, it's been, a week? And we still have no idea what the hell they were talking about. So successful, I guess, if we're still talking about it.
Okay, before we went on the air, Crab had a very specific idea about this. So I'm going to let him take it here and give us his thoughts and a very good counter question to what this situation is.
Right. So, the flat out, does WWE have a Rock problem? Because it would be different if we have been talking about WWE positively for the past 6 weeks or so, in general, about how the cohesion, the streamlining, the whitewashing of Vince's legacy. He set the table, but Triple H has the ball and he's run with it. Things are on the up. The Netflix premiere was a success. SmackDown is what it is, but that's going to change soon. NXT is arguably as good as it was back in 2014, 15, 16. With not nearly the star power relative to who they could become in the main roster. It's golden and it's up. This is, WWE hasn't been this cohesive and comprehensively good in 15 years. But then The Rock shows up. And this isn't a WrestleMania where they need The Rock. This isn't a WrestleMania, this isn't a WrestleMania season where they need The Rock to be The Rock. And I think the difference is between Triple H and The Rock is we know who Paul Levesque is when we look at Paul Levesque. And then if he wants to bring out the Triple H, then he can be Triple H. But he's been Paul since he's been running NXT with Shawn Michaels. He's been Paul since he's been in that CEO, not CEO, but a COO role, now demoted down to head of creative or whatever. We know who Paul is. So we know who Dwayne is. And even though Dwayne's the final boss, well, he's not there with Roman. He's not doing the thing. There's so many other positive things happening, especially at a period of WrestleMania where anything can happen. You could bring up people from NXT. You can, this is where you blow up some feuds. And then it's just nothing. It's like, oh, we're going to bring out The Rock again. Who is demanding, a 20-minute Rock match at WrestleMania in 2025? I mean, between the three of us, it ain't us. So,
Right.
we
got that last year.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. Yeah, Damien, you brought up the long, rambling promos. This isn't 1997 anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it. We've seen it. We've done it. We lived through it. It's great. But I think this is the time where you kind of shelve that and bring up the younger people, because I think even in WWE, realistically, as much talent as they have, as much young talent as we think they have, we still see them play the same old song. And that's getting a little bit more repetitive. Charlotte comes back. Oh, cool. Well, let's get her in the title picture. Oh, that's great. The Rock is there. He's out there stealing souls because what else could he do? He's The Rock.
Yeah.
It's just that's kind of the question. Does WWE have a Rock problem? And honestly, who's going to tell him no?
Well, that's, I think, part of the issue is being he's on the board. He's in a position where, they were joking about last year that he gets to show up and do whatever the hell he wants when he wants. It's like he's got his insert himself into the show card that he can play whenever the hell he wants. I mean, he's higher than Triple H for sure in the pecking order. And I can't imagine anyone there telling him no. So that's where this whole thing gets weird. They did a little press conference after where, he didn't shed a ton of light on what's going on, other than, I'll be in Toronto at Elimination Chamber, which we'll talk about in a bit. But he did also make some weird comments about the thing that's great about The Rock and this Cody Rhodes character is we can do all this stuff and it doesn't have to be a match. It's like, well, you're not doing a match, or what are we doing there? So what are we setting up for WrestleMania? What are we doing here? And never even mind that we got this Elimination Chamber going on still, that in theory at this point should be for Cody's challenger, since Jay sure as hell didn't pick Cody. So it's muddying the waters in a really odd way. And we're at an odd time, too. Here's something else that jumped out at me. I've seen a lot of people saying that that the build to WrestleMania isn't that good, as this is lacking, and it's not that exciting. And we talked about this back at the Royal Rumble. They have a lot of time to fill to WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania is the latest it's ever been. It's not till April 20th. It's late. So as we sit here tonight, they still have 7 weeks to fill of TV. They have just under 2 months. So I think part of it's that they're like, we gotta save some stuff. We gotta do something. Otherwise, what are we doing for the next, 7 weeks? So I think that's part of it. But for the life of me, I don't know what the hell The Rock is doing talking about souls here. And to go back to Damien's idea about running back Mr. McMahon in Austin, it's like, if we're talking about, some people say, the Cody's going to become, the corporate champion. I'm like, he already comes out there in 3-piece suits. What's he going to change to be a corporate champion?
That's a good point. Well, he's already doing that. You're right.
Yeah.
So then let's flesh this out then.
Yeah.
Let's flesh this out. So let's say that The Rock, Soul Man, Dwayne Johnson, is going out there, and he has Cody as his right hand man and whatever. How possible is it that The Rock actually elevates Cody and does exactly what he says he wants to do? Because, to be fair, the argument against Cody is that he's punching above his weight. Mm-hmm. So, in order to hang with the big boys, he's got to hang with the big boys. So, he goes and he aligns himself with The Rock. They have whatever their feud is. Cody loses. He aligns himself with The Rock officially, and they spend the summer together battling whatever the hell they want, because, he's the soul man and Cody's the Homelander, and they are just going to run amok in WWE. Corporate ministry style. Corporate ministry style, with the Vince and the Undertaker. That could work for Cody, who could use a shot in the arm, because realistically, it's not a matter of if not this, then what, but where does Cody go from here? Like, what else could he do to elevate his standing in WWE? He beat the Bloodline. He is the champion. He is, half a damn comic book character, than a politician at his day job. So what else does he do? And I don't think that he's out there in the three-piece suits being, the politician, the state senator, Cody Rhodes, that people, I think he's out there in Versace and Armani. I think he's out there, looking like one of the Tape Boys and, going out there and racing Bugattis with The Rock and down the middle of the ring. I think he turns it up.
Hollywood Cody Rhodes.
I mean, something to that effect, because that's what we haven't seen. Like we've seen Dash and Cody Rhodes, so we know he has that in him. Obviously, Starduck was a totally batshit crazy idea that he made work to some degree. And then he, made himself Kingmaker in AEW, brought that to WWE. It's come and gone, and it's kind of flatlined a little bit.
Coming on 2 years since he
right. And it hasn't really done anything. It hasn't really added anything since he got there. People talking about his meat tenderized shoulder than they do about him as a character. So what if we get, Cody the final boss? I mean, The Rock the final boss. Rock is Shao Kahn, and Cody's Goro. Shout out to Mortal Kombat fans that understand what I'm talking about. But Cody may not be the final boss, but he's the guy before the boss. He's the guy, and Rock is Bison. And I think that to punch that up, Super Dashing Cody Rhodes, the first family. I mean, just lay into it. Bring out Brandy, bring out Baby Liberty, bring out that damn dog, and just lay into the fact
the dog.
and bring out the damn dog, and both of them, and lay into the fact that The Rock and Cody are here to make WWE better for the people. Ding, shitting, and grin. I'm not saying it's going to work, but it would be different for Cody, and I think that's what he needs. He needs different.
It would be a new twist. And I think there is something to be said for it will be 2 years this WrestleMania since he returned. We had the 1 year of, got to the title match, didn't win. Oh, so no, it'll be three. I'm doing the math wrong. Because he got there, he went the first year and lost. Last year was 2 when he won. And so now this would be 3 years of this Cody Rhodes. Yeah, now I think it's 3. It's like, oh, hold up.
Wait, doesn't that make it 4? Because the first year was Rollins as the mystery opponent.
Right,
then he faced Roman twice.
So, right.
This will be 4.
It's 3 as a lap. Wait. No, because Rollins is he debuts with Rollins. So next year when he faces Roman, that's 1 year.
Yeah.
And then he faces Roman again, that's 2.
That's right.
Two last year. So now this is 3.
4 WrestleManias. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in February 2022, he left AEW and then returned to WrestleMania 38.
Yeah. This is 3 complete years of Cody and WWE at this WrestleMania. So yeah, changing it up in some way, a fresh coat of paint, a new twist on things, not the worst idea. As how they can now win the title because he's already champ. So you'd either have to have him lose the belt or you switch up who the guy with the belt is.
I think we get Cody Rhodes from being the elite. Just that
little
hyper Young Bucks ass level asshole that is
Smarmy.
Just that. Yeah, which is really what The Rock is. I mean, he's the final boss. Like, who calls himself that? And be serious about it. Again, I'm not saying this is what I need to see from Cody, but realistically, if you're going to complain that the gimmick is stale, maybe it's not working, he needs to do something else. I don't think he can do anything else other than just a hard reset, start over. Boots on the ground, baby face, just winning the fans back over one match at a time. That's not realistic either. So, and nobody wants to see The Rock versus Cody Rhodes, especially for a title, because why wouldn't it be?
Right.
And foregone conclusion, what's happening. So,
yeah. So I think I'm not. Look, crazier things have happened, but I'm not convinced that this is the worst idea of Cody and The Rock being Black Adams and Shazam, just running through the whole shit.
So question to that effect, Jamal.
Sure.
The fact that we've said Cody's gotten a little stale, and this will elevate him to another stratosphere, so to speak.
Or take him in a different direction at the very least.
What is the next stratosphere then, if that's the case? Like Hollywood Cody? Like, is he going to wind up? Are we trying to get him more in the general populace's viewpoint, more so than wrestling? Is that what we're trying to lift him up to? Because you said he's already a politician in terms of the wrestling world. He's talked about wanting to do politics when his career's over. Is this another attempt to get him more in the public eye outside of wrestling
I'm
through
sure.
Dwayne?
That would, yeah. If he's hanging around with Dwayne, then all eyes on Cody. So,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
it'd be
I
more publicity.
honestly,
Sure.
so what I think is Cody is the first piece in the Legion of Doom that The Rock is building. And I think that if he, and it's going to be, squad on squad, the Bloodline and all of their minions, whether it's a babyface-ish Roman, whether that him and what's his face can come together, Solo can come together. You get Jay in there, you get the Canadian chapter of the Bloodline with Sami Zayn, and versus The Rock and his group of just Hollywood Evolution, basically.
That's what I was thinking of. I thought about Evolution 2.0.
The different generations of it and everything. Yeah.
Right. So then you get them. Maybe you bring up Trick Williams or somebody like that. Just a couple of young guys in there. You do an Evolution 2.0 type of a thing, and it's them versus the Bloodline. For Survivor Series. Maybe heading into the Royal Rumble. Type of a thing, and it doesn't
That's for
necessarily
next
have to
year.
Exactly. Because if WrestleMania is coming up, ish sooner than later, I'm looking towards SummerSlam. I'm looking towards back into the year already.
Yeah.
Because this is something that should sustain. Like, you don't rush this build over the next 6 weeks and then go, oh, that was cool.
Yeah.
And then have nothing for the summer. So whatever this is going to be longer than WrestleMania.
Yeah, because last year we got through WrestleMania, Roman lost the belt, and then it became boom, Bloodline, Civil War. So carry the rest.
Exactly. So I think that with the Bloodlines, mending, friend of my enemy is my friend and all that good stuff. There are a bunch of different ways you can go with that will have ramifications at the top. They already have their own belt, so they don't even need to bother Gunther or Rollins or whoever's doing that. It would just be, Roman, babyface Roman said, listen, if I got to kill my brother to save the world, give me the fucking gun.
Right.
And I could definitely see a unified Bloodline front against, the corporate Bloodline, for lack of a better word, lack of a better phrase. Again, the batshit crazy scenario, it shouldn't happen. But if you have to go this road, where do you go with it? And I think that obviously the mega powers, colliding, on the back end, a year from now, 18 months from now, is where we send that. Because realistically, every day The Rock gets older, he is less and less than likely that we want to see him carry a match, let alone a feud and a whole angle. Nobody wants to see him do that by himself.
Yeah, the sands in the hourglass for The Rock in wrestling are getting more finite by the minute.
Exactly.
There's not a lot of time left, so you gotta do it while you can. Let's switch gears and let's talk about Elimination Chamber this week. Since we're gonna have Cody and The Rock talking about souls, let's look at the rest of the show, because much like Royal Rumble, this is a 4-match show. So very tight card again happening this Saturday at 7:00 Eastern. So outside of the chamber matches, we have 2 other matches happening. We have the ladies in a tag team match, Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus versus Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. That one's kind of odd because the Tiffany and Trish pairing feels weird. Because I still see Tiffany as
that's it.
I get it, but I still see Tiffany as a heel. I don't see her as a face. So it's like he's teaming up with Trish against the heels. I don't know. It's that pairing is odd to me. The Tiffany and Trish team. So anyway, thoughts on that. The other match that's not the chamber. This is interesting. Unsanctioned, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. So what on earth they are going to do in Toronto, those two, with just an unsanctioned stipulation? I'm sure there will be lots of gimmicks involved and lots of violence and who knows what. And where this leads into WrestleMania will be very interesting. I'm sure there will be a lot of storyline implications between those two. Now let's look at the chambers. We'll do the women's chamber first. So the women's chamber match is Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Naomi, and Roxanne Perez, freshly up from NXT. And this, in theory, I guess right now, because Charlotte has picked Tiffany Stratton as her opponent, at the moment, this would be to face Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Would be so the Raw Women's Championship is the title that would be decided by the Women's Chamber. On the men's side, we have John Cena, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Damian Priest, and Seth Rollins. And that, as we mentioned earlier, should be to face Cody at WrestleMania, since Jey Uso has picked Gunther as his opponent. So our Royal Rumble picks are out of the way. That's all over and done with. And I don't know. Both of those matches, I think there's a couple different ways they could go. Damian, I'll go to you first. Mike, what do you want to comment on? Well, I'm going to leave it open for you here. What you want to thoughts on what about Elimination Chamber?
If anything, it still leaves a lot of questions. We're talking about the build to Mania. They have 7 weeks. This is going to be an integral part of that build because we have so many questions about people in the chamber, who's going to face who should win, like we're talking about right now. Mm-hmm. And I honestly believe, as much as WWE would have you to believe, they don't have everything etched in stone just yet for Mania. They may say they have behind the scenes, but there's too many balloons in the air for me to say, take that to the bank kind of situation, because the women's chamber is an interesting mix of talent. Because as you said, we have Liv Morgan, who just won the tag team championships, right? With Raquel. We got Bianca. We got
just lost the tag team championships.
Right. The former tag team champions, Bianca and Naomi, and they have the Jade Cargill potential cloud over them as well. Could this possibly be, and I've said the most logical choice here, is Roxanne Perez facing Rhea Ripley in a David versus Goliath kind of match? That's how I've looked at it from my perspective. The men's chamber, it's a big old cluster. As long as anybody beside Logan Paul wins, I don't care. But you can go so many ways with this. So it's building intrigue for me. So I'm intrigued by the chamber because typically, remember, years past, the chamber's kind of been ho-hum in past years, right? Like, sometimes it's the Intercontinental. Right. Sometimes it's the Intercontinental title. Sometimes it was the tag team titles. It was a speed bump on the road to WrestleMania. Now we're going to have so many different avenues we can take post-chamber that's the main reason I'm interested, to see what lanes open up. And then we have, Shang Tsung and Cody at the end of it all. And oh, by the way, we have the Gargano Ciampa feud known as Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in an unsanctioned match. So I'll end with this. My anticipation level for this pay-per-view or PLE is a 9, because it's going to open up a lot of doors about who's going to face who, because right now I just throw all the balls in the air and see where they land at this point.
Right, quick, before we go any further, let me work our friend Cupcake in here. Cupcake is back tonight watching on YouTube. Tired of them overlooking Nia Jax. Well, she's on the show at least. A lot of people aren't on the show. This is a very tight card with a very few.
Which is why you have Tiffany as the tweener, right? Because Nia is automatically a heat magnet. So you can't have Nia be the face in this situation when Tiffany and her already had this beef. So that's why they're probably going to book her as a tweener going up against Charlotte, who is a walking heel to begin with. So.
Crab, thoughts from you?
Well, I think the only reason why Sammy versus Kevin has happened is because Toronto.
Yeah,
even though they're both from Montreal, so that's
Canadian tie-in.
But, but still, Toronto hates Montreal, so it's not like it's a that's I don't know. It's they're petty. It's really petty. But that match should be just as bananas as all of the other times that we see in it, over the past 15 years. So like the high profile match between Sammy and Kevin Owens. The women's chamber, I agree. Nia Jax will never get the credit that she deserves because she went from, and rightfully so, vilified for not having the wrestling acumen that she needed to perform at the level that she was supposed to be in. And whoever you want to blame with that, it is what it is. But however it happened, she's done a complete 180 and hasn't really given the gravitas that she honestly deserves. Bliss coming back, sure. Liv Morgan, has something to prove, so they kind of really leaned on her a little bit. Bayley coming back through after the NXT run is cool. Roxanne and Bianca are kind of just there. Naomi, kind of just there. Another one that I feel that deserves more that she getting is Naomi as a singles wrestler. Really punching above her weight, but she seems to be not necessarily held down or held back. But you can't be a singles wrestler on a tag team. We've seen how that looks, Swerve and Keith Lee. But that's it just is what it is, and it's unfortunate. I'm always going to root for Nia Jax. I hope she wins it, but realistically, because I want her to murder Charlotte, and just win everything. Yeah, she deserves it. But, but yeah, I do think that this Trish Stratus match, who's like, isn't she like 50? That'd be interesting to see
around there.
How well that goes.
Like one match a year, it seems nowadays. So
yeah.
Well, yeah, as she should, because she's a legend that's 50. We don't need her to just steamroll the show and have a 20-minute program and start stealing damn souls. So Trish Stratus is doing what you're supposed to do at this time. Team with one of the young ones, elevate them, get them on the pay-per-view, go from there. Damn it, Rock, why are you here? But yeah, and the men's match, I just don't care about. I couldn't care less about. I think the women's match for me is infinitely more interesting. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Even though I've seen this movie before, it's still a good movie, and I'm willing to watch it. And it's always going to be good to see Trish. And they're in the Skydome too, which is going to be 45,000 people, Canadians and half of Buffalo going nuts for Trish Stratus. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now the question is, either the chamber matches are going an hour plus, or this is a really short pay-per-view.
Well, we got Rock and Cody doing their soul thing. We'll probably
that's a half an hour segment.
30 minutes itself, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Cody's got
that's the thing. So that's a match? They scrapped a match for this entire promo segment? It's going to be 20 goddamn minutes? Jesus Christ. Okay. Well, there it is.
It'll be an interesting show. Cupcake saying, should I pay for this pay-per-view? I wouldn't pay for the pay-per-view, but if you're in Canada and you're watching it through Netflix or an American watching it through Peacock, I think it's worth the subscription for the month, the service, But the old days of a $50 pay-per-view prices, I don't know about all that.
If you find yourself at a Buffalo Wild Wings or somewhere therein, if your local pub has it, get some onion rings and have a good time with the match that you want to see, but
yeah,
$50 bucks.
It will be an easy to watch. It will be an easy to watch show Saturday.
Yeah,
I think that's the key. That's the key. And like I said, we still got 7 weeks to WrestleMania, so no matter what happens here, there's other shoes left to drop. Notice there's no Roman Reigns on this show, so
but Roman's is on a Trish schedule.
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces in play still. So we'll leave it at that. We'll be talking about it next week. We'll have our winners, and we'll see where we're going from here. We are late to get to halftime, so let's get to halftime. Then when we come back, we'll get into some more stuff because we got AO Productions asking about NXT TNA, so we will definitely talk some NXT TNA when we come back. We'll get into that and talk about this rumor about a new wrestling company. What? I don't know. We'll see about all that, but stay with us, folks. We're glad you're here. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. We'll be back right after this.
Looking to get your brand in front of people who eat, sleep, and breathe entertainment? Big Gold Belt Media is the place to be. We're all about reporting on movies, TV shows, conventions, and everything in between. And we want your brand to be a part of the action. Partnering with us means your sponsorships get featured right in the midst of our content. Plus, we're going to hype you up on all of our social media, connecting you with an audience that loves discovering new things from trusted voices in entertainment. We're easy to find. Just look for us on Big Gold Belt on all your social media platforms. Don't wait, reach out today, and let's start building something amazing together. Your spotlight is waiting here at Big Gold Belt Media, biggoldbelt.com.
Thanks for being with us here tonight, folks, on your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast brought to you by Big Gold Belt Media. There's been some shows this week. Raw was surprised. I thought the main event of Raw, the tag title match with the ladies, with Liv and Raquel against Bianca and Naomi. I thought that punched quite a bit above its weight. It was I was excited about it. But the home stretch of that match, they had folks into it. Surprisingly good match. Then the next night, NXT from Cincinnati. As I always say on the show, I like when NXT is not in the Performance Center and they get out on the road. And this week, we've been talking about the NXT TNA crossover for a while. This is the week where it felt like, oh, they're taking the next steps with this. Because this show was chock full of, you just have one person from TNA on the show. One random person showed up. It was like all throughout the show, there was a TNA presence on NXT this week. And I thought it made for a really fun night. I thought this was one of the best NXT episodes in quite a while that we had this week. So between everything, let's see what we got. Jordan Grace, still very, very, freshly there now, fully NXT talent, but she's so associated with TNA that I still think of her as TNA because she's only been there like 2 weeks.
Right.
Firmly entrenched in the women's program with what we got going on with Julie and Stephanie Vaquer. We got the Hardys showing up as TNA tag team champions. And my God, if that building didn't go nuts for the Hardys, I will give them credit. I think this might be the best possible use of the Hardys in 2025, where you don't have them on these, on your big mainstream main roster shows like the big shows, but these middle level shows, your NXT or TNA, where it's a smaller building, they come out as like a featured attraction. You got them working with the young kids that can bring the action to the ring to kind of be like smoke and mirrors around them and work within their limitations. I think it might be a perfect scenario for the Hardys in 2025 because goddamn, they were over in Cincinnati. Something else. So successful title defense for them. And then they immediately set up them and Fraxium for the Roadblock show in March, which will be for the TNA tag titles, interestingly enough. So Fraxium will be trying to win the TNA tag titles while they're NXT tag team champions. So interesting little twist there. We had Moose on the show again. So we got Moose going to take on Obafemi at Roadblock for that. It's Moose going for the NXT title, right? It's not title versus title. Yeah,
no,
that
it's
one's
not
the NXT title. They're being very careful about how they're doing these, where some matches are for NXT titles, some matches are for TNA titles. So they're balancing it out in a very interesting way. And then on top of that, we had Santino showing up and hanging out with Miss NXT Ariana Grace. And if you know, you know. So, well, a very fun presence with TNA all over NXT this week. But I loved it. I thought the key thing was fun. And it was setting up a lot of different stuff for March, for Roadblock, and then hell for, wherever they end up doing WrestleMania weekend for Stand and Deliver. Damien, how are you feeling about this whole TNA? Like, as a sister promotion of NXT, now they're doing so much more with it now.
Yeah, that's the idea. The fact that they're doing more with it now makes it more intriguing. When before you just had Joe Hendry popping up for 2 seconds, does a quick promo, or was in a battle royal, then got thrown out. They're being used. I think you said it best. All the talent involved with TNA is being used as a special attraction within the NXT universe, right? Mm-hmm. You got Moose, you got the Hardys, you have, like you said, Jordan Grace is now firmly entrenched. But the fact that even going back to TNA, when we had Cora Jade popping up over there as well, this is thought out a lot better, in my opinion, than when they first started doing it in the first place. Maybe that was the goal, right? Maybe that was the end goal, was to slowly build up to this, to make it NXTNA. But I'm really liking the people that are being used, because Moose has been around for a while, right? We act as if Moose just retired from the NFL sometimes, but he's been doing this for a while, all the way going back to Ring of Honor. So the fact that you have Moose going up against Oba, again, it's an older talent that's been there, done that, got the t-shirt, working again with another younger talent. I've talked about this numerous times, where these elder statesmen and elder stateswomen are working with these NILs, these new recruits, just to bring them up to snuff. And I'm enjoying it. And to be quite honest, it's making me want to tune into TNA. And I never thought I would say this in the year of our Lord 2025, but I want to watch more TNA now because of it. So, as you said, Will, NXT's been fun. I want to see which route they take at Roadblock, because I know it's in the theater at Madison Square Garden, so it's going to be a big deal. But where do we go from here? And again, I don't want to go too far out, but I just like the way the road is being paved, and this is a lot of fun. So keep it coming.
It's easily been, for me, the best thing in the WWE umbrella consistently for the past few months.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, much credit to the TNA folks for getting on board with WWE and NXT and the whole thing of the way it's worked is that I think the biggest thing is that we are happily surprised at what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit, Moose is on my TV on the CW. Oh my God, Obafemi has just invaded the Impact Zone. What's Obafemi doing in the Impact Zone? These are like legitimate questions now. It's not a meme anymore. And that's a great thing for both companies because of the fact that their synergy on that level. Ironically, it's kind of created the most dynamic roster in the WWE umbrella, hands down, because we just don't know what could happen next. The things that we thought were not possible are not only possible, but they're being built for storylines and pay-per-views and stuff like that. Now, obviously, my inner pessimist has to kick in because I'm a wrestling fan. When does it all end? How do they wind this down? And more importantly, because it is wrestling, once things happen and happen again, things lose its luster. Should this be a forbidden door period like AEW tried to do, where we got a pay-per-view to come to book, so let's get the Japanese guys over here for 6 weeks. But should this be a 2-month transition season of NXTNA, or are we happy with the long-term continued development of both brands at the same time? Because you can only have one first-time matchup once.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of the reason why they're not doing title versus title, is they know, like, you play that card, then that's a lot. You can't play that card again. So once you go there, it's like, okay, you're taking this thing as far as you can possibly take it. So they got to specifically be like, okay, Hardys versus Fraxium, but it's Fraxium going for our TNA belts. NXT belts aren't on the line. So they're being very careful about how they're laying these matches out. Here's a thought. So after this, the next show will be the big one in Vegas, WrestleMania weekend. Do you think they continue this into Vegas, or are they doing this as like a hook for Madison Square Garden? And is it more just like, well, we're doing this big thing in New York. We want a crowd for that. We want that New York show to be special. But then after that, maybe they wash their hands and get focused back on just NXT for WrestleMania weekend and kind of keep this in their back pocket as for when we have these special shows in certain cities, then we play the TNA card. So it's not like an all-the-time thing, which the more I think about it, just like Crab was saying, that might be the move. Is it's like the TNA card is your special feature, your special attraction, but it's not an every show thing.
Yeah, no, I think because there has to be something that keeps it special, that keeps it grounded, because it's easy to just lose sight of it and just give everybody what they want. You have to be a little bit reserved in this situation. But then again, the one thing, and we don't know what this is going to be, because we have been talking about the inroads to get to this point, and obviously when AEW came through and opened up another door to television, and sure, you have your indies, and it's very few spaces at the top, and there are only a handful of indies that really have the production and television presence, whether it's online or via social media or whatever the case is. But now the NXT is a viable option to theoretically partner with the WWE in a small way. That's another avenue. So we don't know it's easy to say, well, what would WWE get out of a deal with TNA? Well, their guys are getting the training. They're getting the reps. They're getting the ability to see and do something different. But for TNA, well, we don't know who's looking at TNA that couldn't get into WWE anymore. Because I see this as a TNA as like a Division II school that plays a Division I school, the first couple weeks of the season. And they're the North Dakota State, or the Montana State of football, of wrestling, because of the fact that they get to hang with the big boys for a little bit. You're going to see them on ESPN once or twice,
right?
But this is, an opportunity if you can't just make it into the WWE outright. And we don't know whose second or third option got bumped up from, I need to be on TV ASAP, to, well, I didn't make the ID cut. Well, I can't get into one of the 6 schools that they partner with. So, well, that door into the WWE, I don't know anybody. Well, TNA is an option. So we don't know who's going to go through TNA, not necessarily to get to WWE per se, but establishing yourself as a brand on television is job number one for a wrestler, especially today. Yeah. And what better way to do that if you can't go directly to the source than to call up, TNA and say, hey, I'm your next guy. Prove it. Cool. What's this guy doing in the Performance Center? And I really think that that's a pipeline. And hopefully TNA can parlay that into better talent, more talent, newer talent, so that they can get off of this third gear that we assume that TNA has always been in, where they can't hang with AEW, they don't have the money. They can't hang with WWE because they don't have the notoriety. Well, sure, but now TNA is definitely being elevated as a destination. And we will have to see how that manifests in the future. Write this down, February 27th. I definitely think that this could be the springboard for somebody saying, reevaluating their path to the limelight.
Yeah, the roadmap this year is very different. It's changing by the minute. Hell, next week we'll be talking about the first episode of Evolve on Tubi, since that'll go down next Wednesday night. So between that, the ID program, TNA and NXT getting together, things have changed very rapidly as far as what your options are out there in pro wrestling. There's a whole lot of other new spots out there. And this kind of works as a perfect transition into our final little thing for the night, because there's definitely some rumors going around, some rumblings going around. So I'm going to throw this to Crab for what this talk that's been going around this week. But who knows? There might be a whole other layer of things possibly happening. So what you got for me?
So I came across an article that was quoting Wrestling Observer Radio, and the banter between the old man and Alvarez notwithstanding, it does raise a very interesting question. And they were talking about Vince McMahon and how he's definitely probably not started a new wrestling company. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. My question isn't that, but realistically, if Vince started a company, Brian Alvarez says, well, he can't. He would immediately be number 4. Meltzer said, well, no, he can get up to 3 as far as standing in the North American rankings. He could surpass TNA. If Vince, for whatever it is, what would he need to do to start a wrestling company and get it off the ground that would get you to A, watch, and B, surpass TNA. Because realistically, if Vince is on TV every night, is that a program that you would watch regardless of what it is? And I say that based on the fact that Stephanie, who is obviously not Vince, is hosting an ESPN show and a WWE official podcast. So
Yes.
Stephanie is, definitely, towing back into the company. She hosted, or kicked off WrestleMania Night 2 last year, done a couple things. She was on Pat McAfee's show in late January, about a month ago. But that's obviously not Vince.
Yeah.
And say what you want about him, Vince knows wrestling, and he definitely has the capital to do it. What would he need to do to beat TNA if he starts a wrestling promotion? And more importantly than that, what would he do? What would he need to do to get you to watch?
Here's the biggest issue, I think, that jumps out at me. Who the heck could he get?
Yep.
Who's out there to get to make a roster? Because you got tons of people under contract to WWE, tons of people under contract to AEW, people under contract to Impact. You have a performance center down in Florida full of people. You got people on ID deals now. So it's like, damn. It's like, if he would try and do this, the pool of talent is pretty limited. I mean, I can't imagine Vince starting up with indie guys, because it's like, who?
That's not his bag. No.
Yeah, it's not his bag. It's like there's no big names for him to unless he'd wait out for someone to get out of their deal and be like, John Cena, I need you to come back, baby. Come on. But it's even John Cena's doing stuff in WWE for the next year.
But to be fair, though, Vince found John Cena.
True.
Vince found a guy like Big E. Vince definitely has a type. 6'5", built like a Ken doll. So he looked at John Heidenreich and said, "That's my boy," and everybody else said, "No." But that's his type. Vince, I guarantee that Vince has a fat head of Dolph Lundgren somewhere in his man cave, because that's absolutely his type. So maybe that person isn't, out there that we know of now, but if Vince can find a John Cena and he can find a Batista and he can, make something out of a stunning Steve Austin or Hollywood blonde Steve Austin, or mean Mark Callis, if he could make something out of these guys, who is to say that he can't take
an unknown
some guy working at a Taco Bell right now that just happens to have a good Planet Fitness nearby that doesn't know how to break into the wrestling business?
Let me get Cupcake in here. Cupcake says, I love Vince McMahon. All Vince has to do is show up and I will watch. He is the guru. So Cupcake is sold. We don't have a show. We don't.
And I would argue that there's more than a few that would be just sold on the fact, just because of his standing as that guy in North American wrestling. Stop.
The number one question, if something like this were to happen, would be like, what the hell is Vince doing? Because it's Vince not in WWE. We've never seen something like that. So the curiosity factor would definitely be like a Vince McMahon wrestling company that is not WWE, while WWE still exists as a completely separate thing.
Now, but okay. So to that though, remember when Vince and Jesse Ventura were doing commentary?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly. So the kids haven't seen Vince put on 17 different hats a night before Raw came out. Before Raw was a thing, and it was just at Saturday Night Main Events with the big show. It was Vince, Ventura, and Gorilla Monsoon. But nobody knew, at least because of the way information was disseminated at the time, how instrumental Vince was to the entire process. So it would be almost like a player GM. Now, granted, that was 40 years ago, and Vince is 102 right now.
Right.
But we know that in the mind, it is possible for him to do that again. And he is a megalomaniac, so of course he needs his hands on everything. But I'm not saying that it's not possible. But as we've seen with the original iteration of NWA, when it was good, when Billy Corgan gave us an 80s television studio deal,
The throwback
before your Cornette like kind of fucked it up for everybody. I'm not saying that Vince couldn't do that, but I like to see him try because I think that's his wheelhouse.
Damien, get in here. I haven't heard anything from you yet.
I'm thinking and go all in entertainment wise if it's going to be a Vince McMahon endeavor, right? Someone brought up the World Bodybuilding Federation the other day where he tried to make that a thing back in the 80s and 90s with IcoPro. And I said, you know what? That's the kind of thing he needs to do. I thought of WMAC Masters if he was going to try to do something like this again.
There's talk of that coming back. We don't have Celis here tonight, but there is definitely talk of a WMAC Masters reboot.
Rekindling.
I've heard rumblings.
So my thought with Vince is, first off, he can't be on TV for me personally. If he's on TV, an active character, I'm not tuning in. There's too much stink right now. Yeah, there's too much heat. There's too much around Vince right now for me to tune in to watch him on TV.
Yeah, he's 80 and he doesn't look good.
Right. I don't care if he has the Whipley mustache that he had before, that snotty Whiplash mustache for a little while.
Yeah, that's not okay.
I think he needs to just steer into the skid of just pure entertainment. It doesn't even have to be wrestling. It could be his own version of sports entertainment. It could be 50 Omases fighting each other every episode like Godzilla versus King Kong, and he would find a way to market it. There will be a avenue for us to watch something along those lines. But as far as wrestling is concerned, yeah, I think he needs to just try something different because to Will's point, and I'm still thinking in my head, well, even though you said it about 5 minutes ago, who the hell would he get? Because we're going to have a whole roster of Tom McGee's. You're going to need some sort of good hand in the ring if you're going to do wrestling to make this a thing. I mean, you could just go in with Dana White and do the slap challenges or whatever that is, the Slap Federation. Yeah, something like that. Rock'em Sock'em Robot, something. And that's where Vince can slide into the door. Be the Don King of it all. Promote it. Make it seem like it's the next best thing, like he's done with the XFL in the past.
Cupcake is saying that wrestling is his DNA.
The
man can be a promoter. The man is a promoter. We know that. And that's definitely a different role than being on TV and all that kind of stuff. But
here's a quick question, actually. What if, I'm saying it out loud. What if Vince gets so desperate that he signs Hogan to be a part of this show? Would you watch it for the train wreck?
Oh, the train wreck. I mean, that's a whole different factor. Yeah, I mean, I think that would be the number one question, no matter what this thing would be, is you'd have that first episode curiosity of what the hell is going on here. I mean, like the first episode of the XFL, where it's just like, what the hell is he doing? What the hell is this? I gotta at least see what the hell it is. At least the first episode. And then we go from there if anyone tunes back in. But there would absolutely be a car crash TV aspect and curiosity factor to the first episode of anything he'd be involved in. I think that's an easy, yes to that.
The short answer is to what this program could be. Assuming that it is wrestling, I don't think that Vince needs to be in front of the camera ever again, just because he's literally 80 years old. I don't want to see Mitch McConnell out there with a goofy mustache, trying to sell me, anything about watching anything. I do think that while his mind is still solvent, and Lord knows how well that's going, he could absolutely get something together and go because he knows what he's looking for. He's done it before. I don't see why he couldn't do it again. I just think that this is not 1979, though. And that's going to be the thing that deals him in. As much as one would want to see or not, the internet's going to absolutely eviscerate whatever the hell it is.
Correct. The boss man has chimed in with what it will be. I'm just going to pop that up there real quick. And,
oh, God.
I'll take that right back down.
Another control your narrative.
In 2025, I wouldn't be surprised.
Somebody call Ethan Page. But
Ethan Carter the third, not Ethan Page. Ethan Carter the third.
that is true. I totally forgot the EC3 exists. But that's terrible. But no, absolutely. I don't know. I don't know what it would be. But now that you say it though, I can't unsee Vince's new promotion debut on a True Social.
I mean, Fox. The rumor was, he's talking to Fox, and Fox apparently immediately was like, "We're not having any talks with him. That's not going on." So, I mean, we know this is not going to be on Tubi. We know that's for sure. So that's the other thing. Like, so many platforms aren't available. It can't be Netflix, can't be Fox, can't be Tubi, can't be TNT or any Warner property. So that's the thing. It's like there's so many limited options for something.
I mean, it is, but you said that like Vince didn't literally create the WWE network.
Very true.
So
Very true.
to be fair, like every hurdle that you think that he have to jump, he's jumped it at some point in his 80-year career.
Very true.
So that's I'm not saying it because it needs to happen. I'm just saying it because
just the reality of what it is.
Realistically, he may be the most equipped person to spearhead something like this for fun.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine too many other people, even a Mark Cuban or somebody like that, that knows TV and maybe have done a thing. I just couldn't see him just bulldozing a wrestling federation to air. But Vince did it. Now, granted, he did it before Reddit existed, so that's going to be the thing that changed. That's going to be, I don't know how that works out. So,
all right. Well, this was an interesting one. This was an interesting hour we had tonight. Lots of different stuff to cover. So, folks, so glad you were here with us tonight for oh God, Boss Man's coming in. There are a couple of interesting characters on Capital 6. So that's where Vince is going to get his characters from. Oh man, we'll enough of that. Enough of that. We have to do the antlers and all that. That's where Vince's gimmicks are coming from Maga Pro. There you go. All right.
Proud Boys versus the Spirit Squad is the new Bloodline 2.0.
Oh no. Oh no. All right. Well, there you go, folks. We will see if a Vince McMahon anything in wrestling or anything in TV happens in 2025. And when it does, we'll we'll have our we'll be talking about it here each and every week. So we are glad you're here with us here tonight, folks. Every Thursday night, 8 p.m., your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast, brought to you by Big Gold Belt Media, is here streaming live on Twitch, on X, on YouTube. Got the video feed going up there live, and then the podcast version drops shortly thereafter. There's also audio version archived on YouTube along with the video. So if you don't happen to catch us at Thursday at 8, there is definitely ways to watch afterwards. Thank you, Cupcake, for saying it was a great show. We're glad you were here with us. Good seeing you again this week watching on YouTube, Cupcake. That's what we like to see. We like the crowd involvement. Keeps things moving and keeps us on our toes each and every Thursday night. On social media, Big Gold Belt across the board. So whether we're talking Instagram, X, Blue Sky, what else? What are platforms? What else am I forgetting? I don't know. I feel like I'm forgetting platforms here. Maybe not. But at Big Gold Belt on social media across the board to catch all of our social media stuff. And of course, BigGoldBelt.com, the website, wrestling, movies, comics, and more for all your entertainment needs. So, who's got something for me this week in the realm of entertainment that's not, wrestling? What else we got going?
I mean, there's a bunch of stuff happening this week. We got spring training going on. Rugby starting this weekend, live from Vegas. So if you've never seen Australian rugby, 6 o'clock and I think 8:30 are when the games are going on Fox Sports 1, I believe. And as far as movies go, Captain America is actually doing so poorly that in IMAX it's being bumped by the Chinese movie Neja Part 2, which is literally the biggest movie in the world. If you haven't seen it in IMAX, it's absolutely amazing. But they're starting to take a few Captain Americans out of the IMAX theaters to put this Chinese movie in, which I've never seen happen before. So it's an opportunity to go see it. It's one of the best animated things I've seen in quite some time. Woody Harrelson, Simu Liu, and Cliff Curtis is in Last Breath. That comes out tomorrow. I went to the screening yesterday. It's solid. It's an hour and a half. If you got matinee money, do it. But if not, wait for Hulu. And then, of course, at least in this part of the country, it's going to be decent this weekend. So get out there, touch some grass, and go watch something other than the wrestling. And I think the Oscars are the weekend after. It's a whole thing.
Sunday.
So a lot
Sunday night.
Yeah, it's that Sunday. It's the 9th, I think. So yes, it's a lot more going on. So too much stuff to count, actually.
There we go. We got it all for you, folks. Big Gold Belt Media. Like I said, biggoldbelt.com for all your different entertainment needs, wrestling, movies, comics, and more. Your one-stop shop is Big Gold Belt Media. So thanks for being with us here, folks. We'll be back next Thursday night. We will have Elimination Chamber to talk about. We'll definitely be talking about the First Evolve show on Tubi, since that is kind of a big mystery. What is going to be up with that? I'll say this before we go off the air. I have heard they have already taped a number of episodes. They're in the can. They've been taping in the Performance Center. They are not taping in the same set as NXT does. Apparently, it's a different ring, kind of off in the corner with a very, very small crowd. So they're trying to keep everything secret as far as what they're doing with this. So I'm very curious how this show is going to look and what the vibe of it is going to be. But apparently there are a number of episodes already in the can. We'll have our first one next Wednesday night, 8 p.m. on Tubi. So we'll definitely be talking about next week what that WWE Evolve show is going to be. So interesting stuff coming, folks. Elimination Chamber and all that. So plenty of wrestling going on this week, movies, all kinds of stuff like that. We gave you a breakdown there. So come back next week. We'll talk about it then. Stay safe, and we will talk to you later.